Hello my precious little dragons, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're having an absolutely marvelous day. Today is special because I have been on YouTube for 1 whole year, which is kind of hard to believe. Hi, could you stop making noise? You're making so much noise. Go take a nap. Go take a nap. Sorry, talking to Aria. I have been on YouTube for 1 whole year and it has been so much fun. I have so appreciated all of the people who have followed me, who have really encouraged me in making my videos in book looks, or in whether it's beauty or book related content, or specifically my book looks. I've just appreciated every single one of you. Like, I just want you to know how much every single comment and follow and like means to me. It's just so marvelous to know that there's other people out there who just love to enjoy listening about books or watching me put my makeup on while I talk about books, stuff like that. Anyway, I've just had so much fun. It's been a really great experience. I'm definitely going to do my best to keep doing it all throughout grad school. Things have changed so much in my life since I started BookTube. Obviously, we're living through a pandemic. Didn't see that coming. And I interviewed for, got accepted into my PhD program. I moved across the continent. I'm yeah, I'm just being on YouTube has just been such a special experience for me. It's kind of stress relieving just to be able to sit down and talk about the things I love and, you know, do. I wanted to do something as a thank you for all of you just making this aspect of my year so great. So I wanted to do a little giveaway. So if you're interested in that, definitely stick around to the end of the video and I will tell you more about it at the end. But I did actually have a plan for today's video and I wanted to talk about my 2021 anticipated releases. So this is my narrowed down list. This is not all of the books that I have my eye on for 2020 releases. This is just some of them, and it still ended up being a 12-page document in Word. So I'm going to do my absolute best to get through this somewhat quickly. It won't happen, but I'm going to do my best, and then at the end I will talk about the giveaway. The other thing I wanted to point out is that these are not books I have already read, so I do have some ARCs that I've gotten through NetGalley or through like Goodreads giveaways that I've already read. But it felt weird to put them on an anticipated reads list. So if you're interested in a couple of books like The Divines or The Last Thing to Burn or The Savage Instinct that are all coming out this year as well, you can head over to my Instagram at @ANovelBeauty and check out my thoughts on the books there. I will also hopefully be doing book looks on them, but they obviously take a little bit longer to put together than just an Instagram post. So check out those just to see what I've thought of a couple anticipated reads I've already read. So all of the books on here are books that are yet to come out and that I have not read. So let's go ahead and get started. I have it split by genre. I have no idea how to actually split the video into timestamps, so I will try to put the genre down below in timestamps in the description. And while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind liking, commenting, and subscribing and doing all those YouTuber-y things, that'd be awesome. So we're going to start off with contemporary fiction. So first is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahereh Mafi. Its release date is June 1st and it is a YA novel. So a very quick description of it. Shadi is a Muslim girl. She is dealing with family grief and trauma in the midst of larger political turmoil that infects her life. An Emotion of Great Delight is into the world of a single Muslim family in the wake of 9/11. So I believe the actual book takes place in 2003 after the war on Iraq has already been declared. And it's about a child of immigrants forging a blurry identity, falling in love, and finding hope in the midst of a modern war. So this one just looked really fascinating to me, and I saw some debate about whether it's considered a contemporary novel or whether it's considered a historical novel. I would side more on contemporary than historical because 2003 just doesn't feel far enough back to be a historical novel for me. My brain doesn't compute. So I'm going to call it a contemporary novel. But honestly, it just looked like a really good book. I'm really interested in it. Next. The Vietri Project by Nicola DeRobertis-Theye. The release date is March 23rd and it is an adult book. This book is about a search for a mysterious customer in Rome leads Gabrielle, who works at a bookstore, to confront the complicated history of her family and that of Italy itself. Each encounter draws her unexpectedly closer to her own painful past and complicated family history. An Italian mother diagnosed with schizophrenia and institutionalized in her childhood, and an extended family in Rome still recovering from the losses and betrayals in their past. So this one looked really interesting to me. Obviously, there's the mental health aspect, so that is always going to be something that draws me into a book, but just the way it also is someone who works at a bookstore, that obviously ticks another box. I like the kind of questy mystery aspect to it. It just sounds like a really fascinating sort of genre-bending book. I'd like it. Alright, so the next book I have on my list is The Removed by Brandon Hobson. Its technical release date is February 2nd, and it is an adult book. So I actually have a copy of this book, and isn't this cover really cool? Look at that. This is my book of the month book for January. Sometimes they do early releases, so I technically am able to read this book before it's released, which is cool. Doubt I'm going to get to it before February because I have other books I'm working through, and I have some NetGalley books I'm trying to get through before they release, and yeah, so I will get to this one. I'm very excited about it. I should probably actually describe the book. It's basically about a Cherokee family called the Ecodas, and they have been suspended in grief since the death of their son at the hands of police. The book explores the ramifications of grief on the whole family in the 15 years since the tragedy. It takes place as the family's annual bonfire is approaching. Mother Maria attempts to bring everyone together as the lines between the physical and the spirit world begin to blur. So this book looks like it has some aspects of magical realism, which I absolutely adore. It's also an Own Voices novel, and it focuses on Indigenous struggle. And since my graduate program has an emphasis on rural and Indigenous psychology, I have been really trying to focus intensely on reading more Indigenous literature. So like last year I was able to read stuff like Tower of Raven, Alatsaway, and Winter Counts, which were all really, really amazing. So I am really, really excited for that one. It is very high up on my TBR. I'm so excited to read it. That is probably one of my absolute most anticipated books on this list. I am so excited for it. The next book on the list is The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharpe. It releases on January 26th, and it is a YA book. So this novel is about Nora O'Malley, who is the daughter of a con woman. She's caught at a bank when a heist takes place, and she finds herself taken hostage. So there's a couple other like random details about the book that you can read if you want to go into the full synopsis, but it just looks like a really fascinating, fun little read, and I like kind of heisty stuff, but it's like a heist, hostage, con-ish situation, and it seems like a conglomeration I haven't really seen before, and I'm down. So yeah. Next we are moving on to fantasy, one of my favorite genres. So I think this is the longest one. It's hard to tell. So another super anticipated book on this list for me, which if you've watched like any anticipated reads book from 2021, you've probably seen this book on the list. It's The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Literally, I've seen this in like every single anticipated reads list. So its release date is February 9th. It is a YA book. It is like an African-inspired YA fantasy, and it is about a 16-year-old Decca who lives in fear of her approaching blood ceremony, which will either establish the already ostracized girl as a normal red-blooded part of her village, or as gold-blooded and impure, facing a fate worse than death. So when her blood actually does run gold, a mysterious woman shows up to her village and asks her to join the Alaki, gold-blooded warriors who fight for the Empire. So she decides to leave and then quickly realizes that everything is not what it seems. So this one just sounds like a really fascinating world. There's a lot to it. Like they describe the Alaki as like basically like these like nearly immortal warriors. It sounds like it's got a lot of action and adventure, but also like potentially deals with like some deeper things. It's kind of hard to tell from the synopsis because obviously a synopsis doesn't tell you everything the book explores, but it just looks like a really good one. I'm super excited about it, and the cover is like chef's kiss. Praise to the artist. It's so gorgeous. So next is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichec. Its release date is February 9th. It is an adult novel. It is a reimagining of Norse mythology in which a banished witch named Angerboda falls in love with Loki, and she risks the wrath of the gods in the process. So she's forced to decide if she will accept the fate she happens to foresee in the future for her family, or if she will risk everything to change that fate with the help of the huntress Skadi. I'm a sucker for Norse mythology. Anything to do with Loki just takes me straight back to like my 2013 self that was like obsessed with Tom Hiddleston's portrayal of Loki, and low-key, I still love it. But just in general, Norse mythology is really fascinating, so this one sounds really interesting to me. Next is The Bright and the Pale. This is one that I actually have in my NetGalley reads, so I'm hoping to get to it soon. But it is by Jessica Rubinkowski. Its release date is March 2nd. And it is a YA novel that is based on Russian mythology. So Valeria is one of the few survivors of an event called the Freeze, which holds her entire village and family frozen. She's on the run from the Tsar and finds refuge in a thieves guild. In order to rescue a friend, she has to go on a perilous quest to the same mountain that she once fled, but dark things lie in wait there that are waiting for release. And one thing I just wanted to point out that I super duper appreciated, the Goodreads actually had content warnings, and I was blown away. So it has content warnings for the death of a family, for discrimination, childhood trauma, and work camps. So whoever wrote that Goodreads description, or I don't know if the actual synopsis includes it or not, but whoever decided to include content warnings, you have my utmost praise and respect. That is something I don't think I've ever seen before in a book synopsis, and I think we need to include more of, so I really appreciate that. Next is The Light of the Midnight Stars by Rena Rossner. Its release date is April 13th, and it is a YA novel. It is a combination of fantasy, history, and Jewish folklore. So in the Hungarian woods, the sacred magic of King Solomon lives in his descendants. They gather under the midnight stars to pray, sing, and perform small miracles. The book follows the Rabbi Isaac and his 3 daughters, who, after helping an outsider, are accused of witchcraft and their village is burned. They flee and start a new life, but as other things begin to affect Europe, the sisters are all forced to make choices which will change the fate of their families forever. Okay, so I just realized I forgot to actually talk about the book, but needless to say, it looks really fascinating. I am always here for magical realism and combining folklore with historical fiction. It just looks like a load of fun, and I really want to read it. Next is Malice by Heather Walter. Its release date is April 13th. It is a YA novel that is a dark retelling of Sleeping Beauty in which the princess falls in love with the evil sorceress, and it is told from the perspective of the sorceress. And just reading the synopsis of that book was just really fascinating. Like, it looks really good, and I love fairy tale retellings. I'm down. Alright, the next one is This Poison Heart by Kalynn Bayron, and its release date is July 15th, and it is a YA novel. It is an urban fantasy retelling of The Secret Garden. Although it looks like it's more like inspired by The Secret Garden just based on the plot synopsis, it may be more specifically related to The Secret Garden in the actual book than it appears to be in the synopsis, but I heard it was a retelling of The Secret Garden. But basically, so Bree has the power to grow plants with one touch and goes upstate to her grandmother's estate after she passes away, and she and her family find a secret garden which holds a variety of mysteries and interesting plants. Bree finally learns to control her abilities, and I believe she also starts to like brew potions for people and stuff, and finds that others are interested in her powers and the content of the garden as well, and things get kind of dark and twisty. So this one just looks really fascinating. As always, I'm a sucker for retellings, and The Secret Garden was one of my favorites growing up, so that one just looks like it's right up my alley. Alright, next we're moving on to historical fiction. The next book in this list is The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. Its release date is June 1st, and it is an adult novel. And this goes through the story of Bella DaCosta Green, the personal librarian of J.P. Morgan, who finds herself becoming quickly one of the most powerful women in the arts and literary scene, and is carrying a closely guarded secret that she is actually Belle Marion Greener, a white passing African American woman. So it sounds like it just covers kind of her whole life and how she deals with all of this like fame and power when she has to so carefully guard her identity and her past to keep herself and her family safe. So that one just looks really interesting to me. I've read Marie Benedict's work before. I believe it was last year or the year before that. I read The Other Einstein by her. It's really good. I have a couple of her other books on my list. So she's just really good at doing research and historical fiction of like people who actually existed. So that just sounds like a book that's right up my alley. It also kind of reminds me of a book that I read way back when as a child called Fly Girl. And that one is also about a white passing girl and who became a pilot, and I believe it was World War II. And I think that one was based on real life. I don't think that one was as directly about like a specific historical figure, while this one is about a specific person who existed. But it looks really good. Super interested in it. Next is The Historians by Cecilia Ecback. Its release date is set for March 30th. It is an adult novel. It is set in 1943 Sweden, and a young woman named Laura is trying to unravel the mystery of her friend Britta's brutal murder. This leads her to work with a man named Jens. The two quickly find themselves mired in a web of conspiracy and lies that some in Sweden will do anything to keep secret. So I saw that this one was compared to The Alice Network by Kate Quinn, which is a novel that I absolutely adore. So this one just looks like it is going to be absolutely right up my alley. So interested. I'm very excited to read this one when it comes out. Next is Red, White, and Whole. This one is by Rajani LaRocca. Its release date is set for February 2nd. It is a middle grade book about an Indian American girl named Rena who finds her life turning upside down when her mother is diagnosed with leukemia. So in the midst of all of this, she feels torn between the two worlds of her school, where she is the only Indian American, and her very traditional life at home. And then she also dreams of becoming a doctor, and she wants to do anything to save her mother's life. So it just sounds like it's a really good book. I haven't read a lot of books that I can think of that have Indian American leads in them, so that's another thing that I want to learn more about. I want to learn more about the culture, and this book just looks like it has a lot of really good things to say. And I always love middle grade books because I love the way that they're able to put like really complex topics into something that kids can understand. This is honestly just something that looks like really good and fascinating to me. The next one is A Woman of Intelligence by Kalynn Tanabe. Sorry. Ari's chewing on a bone, so you may hear chewing in the background. The book's release date is July 20th, and it is an adult novel. It is set in the 1950s, and a woman named Katerina feels she was trapped in a gilded cage in her marriage to a surgeon, and so she jumps at the opportunity to become an informant for the FBI. She is asked to infiltrate the inner circle of a former acquaintance who has since become a very high-ranking Soviet spy, and of course, you know, it's a spy novel, so she finds that things are very complicated, and it sounds dark, twisty, and interesting, and I'm down. I love spy novels. The next section is literary fiction. I only have one book in this section. It is The Revelations by Eric Hull. Its release date is April 6th, and it is an adult novel. So it is about a neuroscientist named Kirk who left society because he was sort of obsessed with his search for the scientific theory of consciousness. He decides to rejoin society when he is offered a prestigious postdoc. However, he quickly becomes obsessed with something new, the suspicious death of a colleague. So he begins to investigate along with another postdoc named Carmen, and the two discover sinister things are going on. So it's classified as literary fiction. I probably could have put it into the mystery category, and it said it also has some romance in there, but since it was primarily classified as literary fiction, I wanted to stick with that. So next is mystery. So we have Pride and Premeditation by Tirzah Price, which its release date is on April 6th, and it is a YA retelling of Pride and Prejudice. This one is actually one that I am currently reading from NetGalley, but since I haven't finished it yet, I decided to include it on this list. So it is set in the familiar Regency period of Pride and Prejudice. That part hasn't changed, but it does add a murder mystery aspect to it. Lizzie Bennet is basically desperate to work in any official capacity at her father's struggling law firm. He is a barrister. He says he will consider giving her the solicitor position he is offering if she can give him a logical reason why, which leads Lizzie to get herself involved in trying to solve the high-profile case of Charles Bingley, who is accused of murdering his brother-in-law. However, she soon discovers he is already represented by his close friend, the infuriating Fitzwilliam Darcy of Pemberley and I think it's Pemberley and Associates law firm. The familiar story is executed with a crime mystery twist, and so far I'm loving it. Yeah, it was a very anticipated read. Now I'm reading it and I love it. Alright, next is One Poison Pie by Lynn Cahoon, and its release date is January 26th. It is an adult novel. It is about Mia Malone, a kitchen witch, who moves to her mother's hometown of Magic Springs, Idaho after her boyfriend leaves her single and unemployed. So her first job in the town of Magic Springs is catering, but it turns sour when her client's body is found at the venue. So Mia, her sister, and her grandmother have to solve the mystery together when Mia discovers she's both a suspect and the next on the killer's list. So this just looks like a fun little murder mystery. I would probably classify it based on what I've seen as a cozy mystery, which I love those. And I'm all about magical mysteries. I think they just end up being so much fun. You throw magic into the mystery mix. Alright, next is The Broken Spine by Dorothy St. James. Its release date is January 19th, or today! So it is an adult book, and a librarian, Trudell Beckett, finds her beloved library turned into a bookless technological center. She saves the books from a recycling center and sets up a sort of speakeasy room in the library for other book-loving patrons. However, when one of the councilmen who headed the tech library project is killed in the library, Trudell has to prove her innocence and solve the mystery without revealing her speakeasy book room and risk losing her precious books. So it's a book-centered mystery. What am I not gonna love about it? Moving on. Romance. Alright, so next up is The Secret Bridesmaid by Katie Burchell. Its release date is set for May 4th, and it is an adult novel. Sophie Breeze is a full-time bridesmaid hired by London brides to pose as a bridesmaid, and while she's working behind the scenes to make sure that the wedding day goes off without a hitch. When a high-profile client discovers a rival wedding is planned for the exact same day as her own, chaos ensues, and Sophie has to struggle to juggle it all while falling for the charming Lord Swan and keeping her secret at the same time. So honestly, this one just looks like a cheesy bunch of fun, and I'm down. I found myself like so into like just fun little cheesy romances recently. Like I love the rom-com aspect. It doesn't have to take itself too seriously. I just want things to make me laugh and make me feel good. And rom-coms do that. I used to hate romances, and I'm just like, nah, they're cute. Like, as long as they're cute, I'm happy. Where the Rhythm Takes You by Sarah Dass. Its release date is set for May 4th, and it is an adult novel. It is a retelling of Persuasion. Rena feels stuck at her family's seaside resort, the Plumeria, in Tobago. Her first missed love, Aiden, returns to the island with two LA socialites, one of whom he may or may not be dating, and his band in tow, and Rena is exactly where he left her. So will she be able to have a second chance at her first love? Well, if it follows Persuasion, then yeah, we'll see. Retellings don't always follow the exact plot of the novel, but we'll see what it does with it. But I am always down for retelling, so. And this one looks fun. So next is, could you chew any louder? Well, at least you're not destroying books. Next is Before I Saw You by Emily Houghton. Its release date is set for May 4th. About two patients, Alice and Alfie, who fall in love as they both recover in the same hospital ward, all without seeing each other. So this is another one that just looks cute. And I'm done. That's all I have to say. The next one is Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. Its release date is set for February 23rd, and it is a YA novel. So Grace Porter has just finished her PhD in astronomy, and she is on a girls' trip to Vegas, and she gets drunkenly married to a woman she doesn't know at all. And to escape the weight of her stern father's expectations, burnout, and a terrible post-grad job market, she escapes to New York with her unknown wife. However, her complex family and the problems of adulthood can't be ignored forever. She has to learn how to face them, all the while falling in love with the woman she accidentally married. So this one just looks cute, and I mean, reading about other PhD students is fun. I guess she's not a student, she finished her PhD, so I don't know. Reading about highly educated woman facing adulthood is fun, so I'm down. Looks fun. Next, this one just looks like a riot. Dial A for Aunties by Jessie Q. Sutano. Its release date is set for April 27th. It is an adult novel. It's a novel which is equal parts murder mystery, rom-com, and an examination of familial Chinese-Indonesian relationships. So Madeline Chen accidentally kills her blind date, and she calls her mother, who subsequently calls in all of her aunties for help. However, the body ends up being shipped in a cake cooler to the wedding their business is working, and hijinks ensue. This one just looks like a riot. It looks like so much fun. I cannot wait to read it. Next is Thriller. So we have The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. Its release date is set for March 2nd, and it is a YA novel. So Donis Fontaine, a biracial unenrolled tribal member of the Ojibwe tribe, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, struggles to fit into her hometown, the nearby Ojibwe reservation, and all the while care for her fragile mother. The life is thrown into even more turmoil when she witnesses a murder. She agrees to go undercover, but also decides to conduct her own investigation using her knowledge of chemistry and traditional medicine. As the deaths continue, she has to discover what it means to be a strong Ojibwe woman and what lengths she'll go to protect her community. So this one just looks really, really interesting. Obviously the medicine side of it's really fascinating to me. And the cover, I mean, actually it's probably gonna be over here. The cover is honestly just amazing. I mean, lots of these covers are amazing, honestly. I'm down. And as I mentioned before, trying to read more Indigenous owned voices literature, so this one ticks all the boxes for me. It just looks like a blast. Next is The Therapist by B.A. Paris. Release date is set for July 13th. It is an adult novel. Alice and Leo move into a new home in a gated community. When they discover that not all is as it seems and the neighbors have secrets, Alice starts to feel a connection to Nina, the therapist who lived in the house before her. And the couple tries to piece together what happened 2 years prior. This one doesn't have a lot of information, but it's centered around Nina, the therapist, obviously, and I'm just really curious what direction they're gonna go. And I'm really hoping it doesn't go like some of the traditional kind of like mental health thriller tropey routes that are really harmful to a lot of people who actually deal with mental illnesses. So I'm really hoping it doesn't go that direction. I'll have to read it to find out. And this one doesn't come out for a while, so I think it's too early even really to hear from people who are receiving ARCs and stuff. So that's just what I'm kind of keeping my eye on. I may or may not decide to read it depending on what people say in reviews. If it looks to be like really amazing for therapist rep or mental health rep, or really bad and I just have to see it for myself, we'll see. Next is Madam by Phoebe Wynne. Its release date is set for May 18th, and it is an adult novel. So it is a modern gothic dark academia novel, which is right up my alley, and it is set in Scotland, even more right up my alley. So Caldenbrough Hall is a prestigious all-girls boarding school. Rose becomes the school's first new hire in over a decade, and in addition to her own modernist views conflicting with the school's traditionalism, she feels there is more to her predecessor's abrupt departure than is let on. So she just dives right in and discovers that things are a lot darker than she thought they were. And this one just sounds right up my alley, so. And that was actually the last book on my list. I made it through the whole thing, guys. I'm so proud of myself. I didn't even lose my voice. So all of those books, obviously, I probably won't get to this year because I have other books on my backlog. I have older books that I want to still read, so I'm probably not going to get to all of those this year, but they're all on my radar. They're all on my TBR. I want to get to them at some point. Thank you for sticking around this long, and let's talk about the giveaway. I have it sort of split into 3 different sections because I realize my channel is about books and beauty. Not everyone who's here for the books is interested in the beauty part, I don't know how many of you are here for the beauty part, but you may not be interested in the books part. So I split it into 3 different sections. So I have a skincare giveaway, I have a beauty giveaway, and I have a books giveaway. So I will have 3 different winners. Let's get started, and I'll go ahead and start with the skincare because it's over here. So what I have for the skincare giveaway is I have this, the Beehive by the pharmacy. So it includes the Honeymoon Glow AHA Resurfacing Night Serum and the Honey Potion Renewing Antioxidant Hydration Mask. Yay! The Honey Potion is 0.5 ounces and the Honeymoon Glow is 0.4 fluid ounces. I have not tried the AHA Resurfacing Night Serum, but I have tried the hydration mask and it is super good. I really enjoyed it. So that one's really good. I do have another thing from pharmacy. It's this cute little Cheer Up Brightening Vitamin C Eye Cream. I do have one of these that I've used before. It just feels really nice and soft on the skin. It does have a little bit of fragrance in it, but not like a lot. So, but still, if you're sensitive to fragrance, that's something to be wary of. The AHA serum, it has a lot of like extracts, but those tend to actually have a purpose. So they may have fragrant components, but they're not like in there specifically for fragrance usually. But just as a note, it does have like extracts in it and stuff. So next is the Cinema Secrets Pro Cosmetics Call Time Gentle Cleansing Water. So it can be good for makeup removing, or even if you just have sunscreen on and you just want to kind of cleanse your face. It's really good for that. And then the last thing I have is a Burt's Bees Ultra Conditioning Lip Balm. So this is one of my all-time favorite lip balms. It just feels really nice and ultra conditioning, just like it says. And honestly, it lasts for like hours. So this one is a super good one. So that's what I have for my skincare. That's what I have for my skincare. I can't speak. Skincare giveaway. Next is the makeup. Probably the biggest thing is this Vietri. Ooh, don't hit my tripod, please. VP 14 Neutral Mattes Milieu. Hi, my attention hog. Alright, so just to show you what the palette looks like, these are the colors. It's looking a lot brighter in actual camera than it is in real life. They're a little bit more muted and a little darker than it's picking up, but it's just some nice neutrals with a couple pops of color. I have this palette actually. It's really nice. It's all matte. It's super soft and blendable. They just work like a dream. Vietri's just a really good makeup company. They are pretty expensive. I managed to get the palette on a fairly steep discount. Thank you, Boxy Jar. I wouldn't have bought it at all, but I think they're really good quality. This one in particular I really like. It's a really good everyday palette, and I feel like when you're buying like expensive luxury palettes, like even if you get them on discount, like it's nice to kind of get like something that's, you know, you're going to use often, because that kind of makes it worth it. Because if you bought like something that you would only use on like special occasions, then like, are you really getting your money's worth out of it? Or, I mean, that's just my opinion on it. But so that one was a little more like warm toned. And then the other eyeshadow I have on the very far opposite end of the spectrum is the e.l.f. Bite Size palette in Truffles. So it's just this really cute little cool toned palette. So this is one of my favorite bite-sized palettes. You can create a really nice smoky look or a nice everyday look, and I think it works well on a variety of skin tones. I tried to kind of consider that when I was looking at this. Obviously, I know everything can't cover everyone, but I was trying to do my best to think about what would work best for lots of different people. So if you're a little bit deeper complexioned, it may be more just like an everyday. If you're fairer like me, it's probably going to end up being a lot more like smoky or evening look, whatever you want. I just think for the price, it's extremely good quality. Next is the banana powder from Ofra. So it's mostly to conceal dark under eye circles, set concealer, highlight the under eye area, the brow bone, the bridge of the nose, the middle of the forehead, and the chin, set foundation, and matte eyeshadow. It's fairly light for a banana powder. It's still a little dark for me, so if you're very fair, maybe it won't work for you, but again, I try to do my best, but I know a lot of people really love banana powders, like it's a thing, right? So the Ofra powder just comes in this really nice like white heavy packaging. It's just very nice and compact, and then this is what the powder looks like on the inside. It's showing up a lot lighter on camera than it is in person. So again, I would say if you're very fair, it's probably going to work more like an eyeshadow for you, but a lot of other complexions are probably going to find it more useful. I mean, you probably could use it if you're fair. I haven't played around with it, so banana powders aren't my thing, but I know a lot of people like swear by them and say they do magical wonders for concealing under eye circles. So alright, the last two things. So I have the Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink, and this is in the shade Amazonian. So it's just a nice kind of warm nude, but it's a little bit on the darker side. So if you're deeper complexioned, you might still need a lip liner to make it work. If you're very fair, it's going to look slightly more dramatic. So it's kind of like a middle of the road, and hope, like, if you're on either extreme or opposite end of the spectrum, I think it could still definitely be flattering. I was looking at all of the different lipsticks and trying to figure out like what would be the most flattering on the broadest variety of skin tones, and this is what I settled on. That wasn't just like a straight up classic red, because I don't know, I just wasn't in a red mood when I was looking for stuff. I don't know why, I'm usually in a red lip mood, but whatever. And the very last thing I have, and these are pretty new, is the Maybelline Lifter Gloss. This is in the shade Topaz, so it's kind of like this nice shimmery little nude. It has like gold sparkles in it. So I wanted to get something that I thought would pair pretty well with this. If you wanted to add the lip gloss, you could, but you could also just wear this on its own and it'd be really pretty. That is the makeup side of the giveaway. And then last but not least, we have the books. I have 2 books that I'm going to be giving away, and then I also want to do a $20 gift card to a bookstore of your choice. I would prefer if it's an independent bookstore, just because I know a lot of them are hurting right now because of COVID, and so I would really like to support independent bookstores as much as I can. So whoever I contact, so if you have a specific independent bookstore that you know of in your local area that sells online gift cards that I could buy for you, or it's something like bookshop.org or Thrift Books that actively supports independent bookstores, those would be preferable. But if you absolutely are like, I want a Barnes & Noble gift card or something like that, that's okay. I would just prefer to, you know, try and support some independent bookstores while I'm at it. And the 2 books I'm giving away are both books that I actively adore and love. The first one is The Mighty Miss Malone. This is by Christopher Paul Curtis. It is a book about Dessa Malone. She and her family are living through the Great Depression, so it's basically a story about an African-American girl and her family trying to survive. This is just a really, really powerful middle grade novel. It's one of my all-time favorites. So it's just very near and dear to my heart, and I want to share it with others. And the next book is also really near and dear to me and is very powerful, and it is The Storyteller by Jodi Picoult. And this one is kind of like multifaceted. So it sort of weaves together the past, the present, and a fantasy novel that was a story told by one of the characters in the book. And so it deals with sort of intergenerational trauma. It deals with just trauma in general. It's about a baker named Sage, and Sage's grandmother survived the Holocaust, so you learn about her grandmother's experiences and a story her grandmother told. That's kind of a fantasy novel, and the way that's kind of like this fantasy, and the way that story is interwoven throughout the book connects to what the characters are going through on either of these different time shifts. And in the present, Sage is dealing with a lot of sort of her own trauma, intergenerational trauma, and she meets a man called Joseph. Joseph tells her this long buried secret that he has, and he asks Sage to do this like sort of very, very hard task for him. And so the novel examines, when does a moral problem become like a moral imperative? It discusses like, how do you find the line between punishment and justice? Where do you find the line between mercy and forgiveness? And it's just really, really powerful. I think that the way it weaves these 3 narratives together is just really, really well done. Those books and the gift card are going to be that part of the giveaway. So here's how you enter. So essentially, I want you just to do a couple things. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, you have to subscribe, like this video, and then go ahead and follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is a novel beauty, and then comment down below which of the 3 you want to enter for. You can enter for all 3. So if by defying the odds you happened to win all 3, I would just ask you which one you preferred, and then the other 2 would go to 2 other people, because I want to be able to send gifts to 3 different people, because that just seems like the most fun. And I wanted to say thank you for watching me, supporting me, and making this like a super fun experience. So the giveaway will be open until January 31st. On February 1st, I will choose the winners and I will DM them through Instagram. Down below in the comment, you also need to include your Instagram so I can get a hold of you if you, because obviously YouTube doesn't have DMs, so I have to have another way to get a hold of you, and you have to be comfortable with giving me your address so I can send things to you. So I thank you so much, and so this is just my little way of saying thank you for an awesome first year on YouTube, and I hope there's many more. I've had so much fun and I'm going to keep having fun. That being said, good luck to all of you. I really wish I could give all of you gifts and send all of you thank yous, but it's what I can do for now. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful day. Stay magic, keep reading. I love you all so much. Goodbye.